Hey, what's up, guys? Today, Steelovsky and I will be reacting to Asmondgold's latest take on the Elden Ring PvP support. Let's just jump straight into it. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's just watch it.
Okay.
I find it humorous that in the latest official Elden Ring tournament, a long list of banned weaponry and spells was necessary to maintain some semblance of fair PvP combat. This is not good.
That's not why they were banned. So the reason why you ban weapons is actually to create diversity.
Do you want to pause there?
I want pause.
Yeah, go. I know you want to put something in there.
So, the tournament that we currently see, or like the rule set that we currently see, is for the Twitch Rivals tournament, the second one. And to make things clear, this rule set wasn't updated for like a half a year. So the rules are as outdated as it is only possible. And also a lot of them basically makes no sense at all. So this is very bad example. And this is both like a bad example on the source material, in the meaning that the person that created the original video, and of course Asmondgold, couldn't know that his theory is somewhat correct. Sometimes the tournament hosts make the rule set for the sake of to create certain environment, for example, to eliminate the overpowered stuff and so on. Yeah, sure thing. But yeah, this is not the case. Here it is just Twitch Rivals being incompetent. That's basically it.
Yeah, the rule set was basically outdated from like 2 or 3 patches ago.
Have you seen the Twitch Rivals? Like,
Yeah, I did. A little bit. Not. I've watched like some of the last day.
Anyway, we can continue, yeah?
Yep, let's keep going.
Something that is so powerful and so overpowered and good, then that's going to completely dominate the entire like competition. So you have to ban like the top 5 meta things if you want to have a competition that isn't just of those top 5 meta things.
I mean,
like my staff, yeah, because
that's a logical point. I mean, he's kind of right on that, like to an extent. But I mean, it depends on what people are looking for, and that's not necessarily like always a good thing. Like it just depends on what the tournament hosts are looking for. But let's keep going. I don't think that's the important point here.
I'm just gonna add that when you are going to ban certain OP, then you are going to enable different OP. Like
exactly.
There is always meta within meta always happens. So
yeah, because everybody will use it. Exactly. Because the reason why Rivers of Blood, everybody uses it, is because it's really good. It's like insanely fucking good.
No.
Rivers is really good, man. But here's the thing. Keep going. I want to go back to this, but after the other part.
Maybe just rebalance them? I mean, it's easy to say, but the truth is that I don't think that Elden Ring really should. It's not a PvP game.
So don't rebalance weapons or anything because it's not a PvP game, bro.
Yeah, can we get rid of stupid myth of PvE game, PvP game, and so on? Every single update, every single patch of Elden Ring, and every single other Souls game ever was mostly PvP focused. These games are as much of a PvE games as much as they are the PvP games. It's just that PvP in these games is not very good from the technical level standpoint. Like, you have studios that doing better multiplayer experiences, yeah? But it doesn't mean that Elden Ring is PvE game. It is true that most people play these games for PvE, but yeah, like I absolutely disagree with the statement to say that PvE like is something super main and PvP just doesn't matter. It's like, it sometimes feel like it is just slapped on. It is true, but it is mostly because From Software as a studio has the overall business plan focused around kind of reusing their resources. So like we can also see it in the PvE, yeah? Like you have constantly you meet constantly the same bosses, you have the same animations across the series and so on. And sadly, in case of PvP, that means that they are constantly introducing essentially the same fundamental system when it comes to the invasions, when it comes to the PvP. That is junky. Let's be honest, it is junky, but yeah, like the statement that hey, it is not PvP game, it is PvE game, and whatever, just false.
Well, to be fair though, about the reusing stuff, every studio does that. It depends to what extent they wanna improve upon their last entry, but every studio reuses all of their asset. There's nothing wrong with that, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but with the with the PvP argument, I think he's mostly talking about they should not care about PvP because it's not as popular. Because to him, it's only a small portion of players that actually care and play PvP. But my problem with that is that if you don't give a chance to PvP, or if you release it in a state that Elden Ring released in, like there was a ton of people that all tried PvP. Even heck, he mentions in this own vid that he tried the Coliseum. Everyone gave it a shot. Like even people were not necessarily interested, but they gave it a shot. They gave it a chance. It's just that it didn't live up to it. So it's not that PvP doesn't have the potential to be popular, quite the opposite. If they put some work into it, then it could be elevated to a level where it could be more popular. But it's not going to happen if they don't give it like any thought to it, or if they don't like listen to the community for balance and all of that. But this is where I want to bring the Rivers of Blood clip into all of this. So this is the irony I find in this entire clip. He talks about the fact that Elden Ring should not have balance around PvP, right? And then he goes on to say that Rivers of Blood is overpowered, which is absolutely hilarious because he does not realize that Rivers of Blood has been nerfed. So the thing is, these people that like say these things, you know, these Redditors and these casuals, and like Asmon to this extent, like these people don't, like that say these things, like don't like balance around PvP. They don't even play the game. Like, he doesn't even play the game. He does not even know. He does not even realize that Rivers has already been nerfed. It doesn't even affect him. It doesn't affect these people. It's like you want bad for people and you don't want good for them, but in the end, it won't even affect you because you're not even playing the game. Like, he doesn't even realize that this balance thing is already, like, occurring, and stuff like Rivers, like he mentioned, is not even overpowered anymore, but he doesn't know about it. So it's super ironic.
It was nerfed quite some time ago.
I know.
Yeah. Asmon played arenas, and like Rivers of Blood was already super nerfed by a long shot. Yeah?
Absolutely, but he doesn't play enough to know that.
Yeah, that's like unfortunate thing. Yeah, that is true. You actually brought something interesting to my attention. I don't think I ever thought about that, but yeah, like a lot of complaints about PvP or overall the suggestions if the studio is supposed to focus on PvP or not and so on comes kind of from the point of ignorance, like, you know, that I am not playing PvP. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that it is not needed, yeah? Like there is quite some people that play PvP. That is true that this is not majority, this is actually minority, that is correct. But it's still like a hardcore fan base that plays these games every single day. I don't think that just, you know, not bothering about them is a good strategy from Software's part.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about it, like, the people that spend the most time on these are probably the PvPer, and then after that, you'd probably have the speedrunners, because there's fewer speedrunners than there are PvPers. So, like, when it comes to, like, say, the Reddit casual, they are going to beat the game once, maybe twice, maybe they're going to come back to it for, like, the DLC or something like that. They'll probably clock in, like, from around like let's say 150 to maybe 300 hours in general, something like that. Some of them play more, some of them might play even less, I don't know. But when it comes to like PvPers, like I don't think there's any PvPers that I know of that doesn't have 1K hours already. So,
Yep.
like, when it comes to people that actually play the game, you know, the support that's coming in after the game has launched is directed toward PvP players, because those are the people that are still playing and replaying and replaying and replaying the game. So it makes sense that the support for PvP is or the support for Elden Ring is directed toward PvP, because that's the people that are playing the game for the most part.
That is correct. And to be honest, we never had such a PvP support like right now, because during the patching process of Souls games, it was usually just some sort of the regulations. And in Elden Ring, we are getting absurd amount of reworks, to the point that we have literally a system that divides balance for PvE and PvP.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And I don't think he knows about that either. Like when he says that they should not balance for PvP because this is a PvE game, I don't think he even realizes that they have already implemented a system that can balance weapons only for PvP without it affecting the PvE. But yeah.
But yeah, that's actually correct. Yeah, he might just not realize. But yeah, this is actually the case. It's like they clearly focus on PvP and a lot.
But either way, I think the core issue here is definitely the message, right? I think the message of this is a PvE game, therefore PvP support is not important. I think that's very, very problematic, especially coming from like someone as big as him, right? I really don't think that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, like, you know, he's just a
yeah,
guy,
he says whatever he wants, of course.
I mean, like, he might be also mistaken, he might be right. Yeah, it's like he might just, you know, preach his opinion. It's up to him. It's just that, yeah, it just, I would say it is objectively just like, you know, not true. Like,
well, I don't know about objectively, but you know, he does his thing, so we do our thing. We're gonna respond to that because you know we're trying to push the PvP in the right direction, not the wrong one.
All right, we continue. Yes.
Yeah.
PvP is something that you can engage in inside of the game, but PvP is not 50% of Elden Ring. It's like 5.
In an age
I mean, it
where
depends for who.
Yeah, it depends what you are doing.
For me, it's more like 95.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I barely play any PvE. Like in fact, the open infrastructure, like mostly client-sided of Elden Ring, allows you to just, you know, boot up that cheat engine or whatever, and you just give yourself stuff, and you are going to make PvP. Like you are not even bothering about PvE at all. So yeah, it's
for me on console, even if I do have to make a character, right? And you know, gather all the materials and all of that to make a PvP character, despite that, I'll still like once that's done, like I'm not touching PvE again. I'm just gonna play PvP over and over and over. And that's really the case for, you know, the vast majority of anyone who plays PvP.
Yep, that is correct. Okay, we continue.
In an age where meta builds and min-maxing guides exist online, it is only natural for gamers to gravitate towards the most broken combat tactics to ensure victory.
Oh, look at that.
This causes a frustratingly low amount of viable builds
Credit to
in a game where
Steelovsky.
many claim variety to be its strong.
And that's why the things are banned, is to remove that small amount of viable builds.
He mentioned that already.
You see, unbalanced multiplayer is one thing, but the other nail in the coffin is the current lack of incentives to work towards in Elden Ring's PvP.
Oh, that's a good point, though, isn't it?
That is a very good point. I had the whole rant about it a while ago, how, like, Covenants in Dark Souls 2 were such a fucking well done, man. It's so sad to see Elden Ring just not having these incentives, yeah.
Man, I feel like even like Covenant aside, just getting like an actual reward for PvP tasks or like just PvP activity in general, you know, whether it's like upgrade material, like in this case there was Covenant rewards, but if there was, like we keep repeating it, but if there was an actual Rune Arc merchant where they sell all the material needed for you know, for to play the game, to play PvP, like all the material, all the consumables, all of that. That would be, I think, a good reward to give players. But yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, I think that's true. And if they had some form of covenants in Elden Ring, I think that would probably make the game better. Yeah, definitely. Sure.
In previous titles, typically the player would bind themselves to a particular covenant, which would in turn reward them based on the number of PvP victories. Players were granted new spells, rings, and weapons, and this is what gave the player a real incentive to engage in the multiplayer. Unfortunately, Elden Ring has none of these covenants at the moment. No unique rewards for victory, just regular great runes and the usual souls.
Yeah, I do think that PvP in Elden Ring, it is simultaneously better because you have the Colosseum system. And I do think the Colosseum system is actually pretty good. I've used it.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's just saying that the Coliseum, like, it's literally the exact same thing as every other Souls game. So there's really nothing new there.
Well,
like, it's a copy paste of the Dark Souls 3 arena, legitimately.
Yeah, it actually
besides
is.
The map, like, yeah.
Well, even with let's call it kind of.
Yeah, even the map is like reminiscent of I forgot what it's called, like the Pontiff-like map, but
yeah, that's true.
Either way, you can go ahead.
It's I just want to add to it is just, you know, the some sort of the Colosseum systems, even like, you know, not looking at the fact that it's copy 1-to-1 from the Dark Souls 3. The arena systems were in these games always, like, you know, it's ever since the Abyss Walker, I think it was called, the DLC for Dark Souls 1. You had like arena even in Dark Souls 1. Yeah, in Dark Souls 2, both arenas, the blue and red arenas, were like the core of the PvP traffic in the game overall. So it's like it's nothing new. And on top of that, as you mentioned, it might be actually the worst iteration of the arenas, to be honest.
It doesn't have a lot to it. Like it's very bare bone. It's basically like Dark Souls 3 arena, to be honest. Like yeah, it's kind of a copy paste. I mean, it is a copy paste of Dark Souls 3 arena.
In Dark Souls 3 arena, though, like when you was actually getting your victories, you was getting granted these medals, yeah.
Yep.
And they were visible during the invasions, during the co-op, and so on.
Yeah.
In case of Elden Ring, that is not even the case. The arena emblems, however you call it,
the ribbons, I think they're called.
Yeah, the banners, like they are only visible on the arena and nowhere else, which is kind of unfortunate. So yeah, this system is actually inferior to Dark Souls 3 when it comes to how rich it is in the rewards. This is like overall the problem with Elden Ring, like across the whole game. The game doesn't reward you for the PvP. You are doing PvP only for your own fun. There is no real incentive, like the both Asmon and the source material we're talking about. Yes, and yeah, like Arena is yet another example of exactly the same issue. Where are rewards? Like,
by the way, when it comes to reward, it mentions how like other Souls games did it better with Covenant reward, right? So like you go through the game, you beat a certain amount of, or you get a certain amount of tongue from killing players, and then with that you can unlock some weapons and some spells. Even to that extent, I honestly think that, you know, that's what we had in other Souls games, but I know in Elden Ring we're getting nothing, so, you know, it's the worst case scenario. But even like when it comes to the ancient Covenant rewards that we had, I don't even think that should have been enough in Elden Ring. Like even if we had like Covenant reward from previous Souls games, because basically like it's only gonna keep you for a few days of doing PvP, because these rewards usually were very, very quick and easy to get. So for the most part, I think something that has more like replay value as far as reward goes, like the Runarg shop, something that you can, you know, keep coming over and over, I feel like that makes more sense than just unlocking like 2 weapons per covenant, or like 2 spells per covenant. by just like beating 30 people or whatever. I think that makes more sense than, you know, the reward system for just basically a few PvP interaction.
Yep, that is correct. Well, do I do that?
What?
Do I say it?
Uh-oh. Dark Souls 2 did it best.
Man, like the fact, like in Dark Souls 2, you're just joining the Covenant, you're going to the bell towers, and you just kill people, and you're getting Titanite slabs for it. Man, it was such a good system, because you have instant reward. You don't have to collect some weird-ass points for like the next 5 or 10 hours of the gameplay, and then, like, you know, you eventually gonna get some meaningless reward before you are gonna get like a top reward or something like that. Instead, you have like instant reward for participating in the PvP. This system was so good, man. Like the Dark Souls 2, despite all its flaws, man, like the Covenants were made very well there. That's for sure. Okay, we continue?
Yep.
And I do think the Coliseum system is actually pretty good. I've used it before. I've played it, did it on stream. Absolutely. However, yeah, having covenants like this would improve the game. And this is something I remember there was like a Radikosker video that said the exact same thing.
This severely cuts down the potential longevity of Elden Ring and is another chain dragging down its legacy. I know many people just skip the PvP altogether, but to be fair, oftentimes a thriving multiplayer community might just propel a game to legend status.
Can I add to that? Like, I don't think his Team Fortress reference is relevant, but I think that it is very true that PvP can propel a game. And I think, like, I really think that even these players like Asmondgold, who did give a chance to PvP and it did not impress them, of course, but it can impress them if it's done right. But, you know, there needs to be some work put into it for it to be done right. And that's why we need balance patches. That's why we need the proper support for the PvP. Maybe Elden Ring is not going to be that game that that pleases a majority of the players PvP-wise. But I think it's fair to keep trying to make it as best as possible for perhaps the next Souls-like. I don't think it should be something that we just brush to the side and just say, you know, PvP is only for a minority, therefore there's no need to push in that direction. Because there's definitely people that do like it, and there's definitely a lot, and I mean a lot of potential to make this better. I mean, a lot of veterans like you and me, like, we see the potential. We know exactly, like, what it could be. Because, you know, we've played these long enough to identify the flaws and the things to fix, you know, stuff like the damage curve, you know, stuff like weapons that are either too slow or too fast to be viable, and basic things like that. Like, a lot of people that have played these games for a year can identify these things at even a first glance. But I don't think the devs can, but that's not a reason not to go for it and to not improve the game further. What do you think?
I think I pretty much agree with everything what you said, and the very foundations of how to potentially improve the game, or more like all of them, like all the Souls games, every single oncoming game that From Software is going to release, is to work on communication with players. Because as you mentioned, like, it is normal that when you are creating the game, when you are a developer, you don't really have a time, you know, to sit there and just like do the gaming. Yeah, it's also like it's completely different type of interest when you are sitting in the code and you are programming, and also like those are like completely different type of interest when you are doing PvP in like Souls games. Yeah, so having, let's call it, the opinion of an expert somewhere here in the background is quite important, because you as a developer, you cannot really always tell what outcome certain changes might bring. Like, example of it.
But the expert will be able to give you a better idea, though, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, it depends who you are going to ask, but most likely it's definitely going to be better type of the opinion than someone's that, you know, do not really have enough knowledge about certain topic to even identify certain issues. The good example of it is the HTS nerf.
Right, the crouch attack speed nerf.
Yes,
right?
yes. Like, the jump attacks, sure. Like the jump attacks had the true combo, and that was making like HTS very, very tough weapon to play against. It wasn't the most pleasant experience, and I can understand why they nerfed it. But they also nerfed crouch attacks, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. And it's these small things. We have a lot of the examples of this type of nerfs that doesn't make sense whatsoever across all the Souls games. I can bring example of, for example, the ultra great swords in Dark Souls 2. Across the whole lifespan of Dark Souls 2, you had the golf swings. With the running attacks, you could yeet people quite far away or quite up to the point that you had the iron bridge. Yeah, you could just yeet people off the bridge with the running attack of the ultra great sword, and that was like a fun mechanic that had no reason to be nerfed, but they nerfed it anyway. In the literally last patch of the game. And that's a shame, because it is just fun mechanic that is gone out of the game for no particular reason. It never was overpowered. It never had like much of the bad connotations or anything like that. At least I cannot think of any. It just doesn't really make sense why it was nerfed. And yeah, it just comes from, let's say, lack of deeper understanding of the game, I would say. It's just, I don't know. It's just I guess it would be my wild guess that it's just it could be this type of nerfs could be avoided if the contact with the community would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can. I don't think we can even guess what's going through their head when they're making these changes. But I mean, I have my own theory as to why they nerfed the HTS crouching attack. Because the community gave feedback to nerf the rapiers, right? Like the rapier crouch attack. And I just have a theory that maybe because of the language barrier, they did not know which rapier, the big or the small one. So they just nerfed the speed for both because they just didn't know. I think that's what happened.
Actually, might be the case.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not in their head. Like, we don't know. But like you said, it's not like the important part is that a lot of this, a lot of these bad changes would be non-issues if there was someone that they could have to like playtest their game or to give them proper feedback. But it needs to be, like you said, some sort of PvP expert. I dare say someone like you and me, but I mean, it is true, actually. Like, to be fair, like there's other people, Gabri, Amir, there's other
like a lot
people
of
out
people
there
in the community, yeah.
Exactly,
that could
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do we continue, or you want to finish here, because I think after this one they are moving.
Yeah, I don't think the rest is PvP relevant.
Let's hear.
He's talking about like how Team Fortress was a bad example
Yeah.
because of bots, so it's not really relevant to us.
Yeah, exactly. So that was basically it. It was the last thing related to the multiplayer.
All right, so let's just conclude. I think the takeaway from this is Asmondgold bat. And I'm just kidding.
Real?
No, but I think the takeaway from this is that, man, it's so unfortunate to have this like very popular opinion of PvP is not important because not a lot of people play it. And I feel it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you have people that say that, and then the PvP doesn't improve because of it, and then less people are playing it because the PvP is bad, and like don't take care of it, and then less people are playing it. You know what I mean? Whereas it should be the other way around.
it is indeed a vicious circle over here. But yeah, it's. So it is very popular opinion that I think, let's hope, with actually quite an effort from from Software's part that is put onto the PvP recently. Let's hope this, in fact, very popular opinion, like, you know, mostly opinion of people that are not interested in PvP, it's going to change across the next years. Like, maybe not, you know, in Elden Ring, maybe in the either spiritual successor or just like straight up Elden Ring 2. Maybe, you know, it's the systems that they implemented here going to help to make great PvP experience in the future. And yeah, because it is mostly, I guess it is mostly the fact that, well, PvP in these games is junky. It's, I think
yeah,
it is. I think this is main reason why this opinion like happens in the first place. Yeah, you just have the gamer that plays through the game, he finishes the main story, he goes to try PvP, and they get hit from like a mile away by some Brazilian gamer on 250 ms, and they are like, just, man, I don't like it. And I can absolutely understand them. Yeah, it's just the experience, the PvP experience might be like amazing or absolutely terrible, depending on plenty of factors. One of them is just simple latency. If you are not used to how the netcode of these games plays out, you're ending up in the situation that you might start hating these games very, very quickly. And to be honest, I am not even going to blame these people, because yeah, you know, it's playing on high latency is not fun. That's for sure.
I think though, something to keep in mind, a lot of these casuals and PvE players, I think they would tell you that legitimately there's nothing you can do for them to like PvP. They don't care about it. They're not interested in it. I don't think anything that I think there's a lot of people that would fall in that category. Anything you would tell them, they would still say that they don't have any interest in PvP. And I mean, to an extent, that's fine. But I do think that when you do make a good PvP, when you do fix a lot of these issues that have been identified, like some of them that you mentioned, having some proper ping filter, doesn't matter how you implement all of that, having some decent balance, taking care of like a lot of the core issues that have been recurring for a few Souls games now that people have been mentioning, there's just no doubt that it would make for a much better PvP experience. Then we can talk about how how much more popular the PvP has gotten after all of these things have been taken care of. Because maybe except for the the lag and the networking part, like if they were to like implement a server, that's some sort of a high effort fix. But a lot of the changes that we ask for are extremely low effort fixes, and it's been proven time and time again. Like Gabri just fixed aim punch with a patch, right? Or Halvard fixed aim punch with a patch not so long ago. Gabri made a video about it. A lot of these fixes are basically just a few numbers change on a spreadsheet, sometimes one line of code. It's such low effort that there's really no reason to not do it. That's how I feel about it. I think everyone would benefit in a sense that the people who are playing PvP are playing PvE, are unaffected by these changes. Like Asmon was saying here, does not even realize that rivers has been nerfed a few patches ago. Like they won't even know really, because that stuff is more like in the details. It's stuff you're gonna feel if you play PvP. You're not really going to feel it if you play PvE. You have to keep playing the game and to be like really in touch with it. And those are the things that are felt by PvPers for the most part. So at the end of the day, I think it's really for the better for everyone, for the PvP to be pushed in the right direction. And it's not necessarily something that should take a lot of effort for From Software either, because a lot of these changes, like we mentioned, is really just changing a few numbers on a spreadsheet. And all they have to do really is just to follow the right track with getting the right opinions from the people that know a bit of how these things work. Like you said, some sort of more like PvP expert, so that they don't make like changes to HTS with the crouch attack thinking that You know, it's all rapiers that need like slower crouch attack. You know, just
So
someone
we are back
to
at the
point
communication
them.
part, yeah?
Yeah, someone to point them in the right direction.
Yep, yep. I think like that would be great if we had in the future just, you know, some sort of the possibility to just contact these developers, like, you know, in more, because right now everything that we can do is just to fill the reports on Bandai Namco website, and it's not great. It's just sadly not great.
Unfortunately, though, like there's the big language barrier, which is also why we need to go through Bandai, because Bandai do have the crew to translate the feedback, and I don't think From Software does.
That might be actually the case, yeah. But yeah, overall, yeah, like kind of bottom line here is that everyone can be happy essentially, yeah, both like a PvE gamers and PvP gamers, and it's like not many things that affecting like one side actually affects the other. Yeah, it's just like Elden Ring is kind of two games in one. Yeah, and the statement of they're not supposed to focus on the PvP, or they supposed to focus more on PvE and so on. It's not exactly. I wouldn't say that it makes much sense. Like it's the PvE is done. The PvE is working fine. There is not many issues with the game. What would they be patching even if they had to focus only on PvE and just drop the PvP altogether?
I think the argument is just focus on the DLC. I think that would be their argument.
Yeah, that could be the argument. But you actually brought the example of certain changes require very little effort, literally one line of the code here and there. You do not really need like a huge team, to these changes. And you brought the example of how like the effort that is put currently into the PvP might actually affect the future games, which can create the better experience. And From Software, whatever you say about them, they are quite a great guys. They are actually making good games. They clearly want to make the good games. And I am absolutely sure that, you know, the guru himself, Miyazaki-san, just like, you know, he isn't sitting there and like, oh, just drop the PvP and whatever, I don't care. Yeah, we had it in Dark Souls 1, you can drop it on and let's just go with that. Yeah, it's something that I completely don't care about. I'm pretty sure he cares. I'm pretty sure he wants everyone to have like a great experience with the Souls games. It's just that, you know, it's yet again, it's they do not really have that great of the infrastructure for the multiplayer side of their games, and maybe it's going to change now. We clearly see the changes in the correct direction.
Yeah, From Software is definitely like an artistically driven studio, and I think that's for the better. I think that's why it's getting more and more popular, because I feel like that's a rare quality these days for a lot of AAA developers, to be artistically driven, where they just make the product they want or the game they want, instead of making a product to fulfill certain business needs. So I think at the end of the day, I think they're a good studio, but you know, as Miyazaki himself would tell people watching, you know, they're looking to do better, right? That's the first thing he said when he received the award, and one of the things we can help them make better is the PvP. So that's our role here.
Yep. Indeed. Let's hope for perhaps a little bit better communication in the future.
All right. Well, Steel, thanks for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And guys, if you want to check out Steel, I'll have a link to his channel in the description. I'll also link the original Asmondgold vid. I think Asmondgold's haircut here is better than his usual one.
Oh, it's not haircut. He has a ponytail.
Well, I think I think it's much better. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and take care, everyone.
Bye.